allegiance to our flag and nation. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to the March the 22nd Airport Advisory Commission. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Judd, who spent a couple of years at the helm and did a very well job, I think. So thank you, Mr. Judd. Roll call.
Commissioner Machado.
Here.
Vice Chairman Houston. Here. Commissioner Judd.
Here.
Sanzeri.
Here.
Martinez.
Here.
And I am here, and the absence have been noted.
Your verification of agenda posting.
The agenda for the Airport Advisory Commission of the City of Hollister regular meeting of March 22nd, 2017 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on March 15th at 10 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Item number 5, the approval amendments of the Airport Advisory Commission meeting of February the 22nd.
I make a motion we approve the minutes as presented.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public input? No public.
Who seconded the minutes?
I did.
Zek.
Reports. 7A is AIP Phase 1.
That stands for the first phase of the runway project that we're in conflict with the vendor on. We have met with the opposing counsel for the situation. So both counsels have gotten together. The way it was left was we provided them with information from our expert and from our counsel, and the opposing counsel indicated that they were going to request some information from us. We have been waiting for 3 weeks now, and they have not requested it. So we're going to provide him with the information that he mentioned on that day, just to move things forward, and the city attorney's office is handling that.
So what's the anticipation? What do you anticipate?
I don't.
No.
It's a process we're working our way through.
Any questions from the commissioners? Okay, item 7B, CAL FIRE.
Nothing to report on CAL FIRE. Waiting still to see the new leases, the new revised leases.
7C, AIP 18ALP update survey.
So the contractor's still working on the ALP update, and they'll be out this month to conduct a survey for the air approaches. They had to wait till there were leaves on the trees. Per the FAA regulations, they could not do it until spring when there were leaves on the trees. So we're having our bloom now. The flowers are started and the leaves are busting out, so I'd expect them out in the next 2 weeks to go ahead and take care of that.
I have a question.
Yes.
So there apparently was a kickoff meeting, which I wasn't able to attend. Have there been any other meetings, or are there other meetings planned to discuss what's going into this plan?
There are other meetings planned, but there have not been any meetings yet. Okay. They're crunching data and working on things.
Okay, because I'm kind of interested at least to see what's being proposed, particularly in view of, I think, this other topic too, the other safety enhancements that apparently are supposed to get into this thing.
Yes.
I'd like to get their view on some of that.
Okay.
So, thank you.
They have been informed of that meeting that we have with the FAA where they identified those concerns, and they are looking at those also.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Commission? Okay, 7E, budget.
D.
So the budget process is still moving along. I did add 2 capital improvement budget requests for next year to our budget, and that would be to construct 2 hangars out at the airport. One is a remainder portion next to the hangar that's under construction, and then the other one would be an additional executive hangar in the row of executive hangars.
So how will that be paid for?
Out of our funds, our fund balance.
So we'd be adding on to the Z-Aero hangar, or?
No. A new hangar near there.
Okay,
There's a remainder parcel.
okay.
We're really just taking care of Dean's View.
Any other questions of the budget? 7G, AIP 19 Airport Layout Plan, Partial Parallel Taxiway K.
So we met with the FAA. I guess it's been about 3 or 4 weeks at this point. And they indicated that AIP 19 has been pulled from their funding list. They gave a litany of reasons why, one of which was the ALP update was not complete, which they can do that. And so we really don't have much of a leg to stand on to fight them on that. Our ALP is dated and needs to be updated. Normally, though, it's not an issue when you're working your way forward. And then they've identified issues out at the airport that they feel are more important than Taxiway K. The lead-in taxiways at 3 ends of the airport are bothering them greatly. And so they would like to see those addressed prior to Taxiway K or in association with Taxiway K. The relocation of Taxiway Bravo also is upsetting them quite a bit, which is, Bravo's about 20 feet short of where the threshold really is, and they want to move that 20 feet. We're trying to address that through the ALP update. We're seeing if we can move the threshold back 20 feet, because it's going to be a lot cheaper to move 20 gallons of paint than it is to move taxiway lights and tons of asphalt and compactions and all the other stuff we have to do to move the taxiway. So I'm trying to move the threshold back to the taxiway, which would be the cheaper way to go. So that was all bad news, and we left that meeting kind of sad. I did have a meeting with Congressman Panetta's staff last week. I think it was last week, early last week. I briefed them on the situation, and they're ready to go. So as soon as the ALP update is complete and we are in compliance, then they stand ready, willing, and able to get involved to get us back in the funding stream.
Excuse me, can I have a question?
Sure.
Your meeting with Panetta's staff was was not with regard to CAL FIRE moving their base?
It was Panetta's national, he's at the United States government level, so they have no sway on CAL FIRE at all.
Right. Okay.
So it was a general, this is the airport, this is what we do, and it's more of an FAA relations level is when they would get involved.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, understand.
Any other questions of G? Okay, 7H, NBAA, schedule and dispatchers conference, Texas.
So we attended that, and sorry I wasn't here last time to give a report. I had a family issue we were dealing with. But it went very, very, very well. We did things a little differently. I can report that Hollister is starting to get name recognition. People would come up to the booth and say, "Oh, Hollister," and people walking by would say, "Yeah, we land there." We are seeing an increase in business or increase in landings from these activities. So I think they're being very successful.
Yeah, Dave gave a good report last meeting. Any questions? Okay. Number H, or letter H, trees.
So we had a bit of a windstorm in February. We lost 178 trees throughout town, about 230 fences throughout town, and all kinds of fun stuff. But we lost several trees at the airport, including the large eucalyptus when they entered. So that has now been cleaned up. We had one leaning towards San Felipe Road that we had topped and cut about half of it down and left the rest. And then we cleaned up the eucalyptus and some of the other stuff. So that work has been completed.
Do we know at all what it cost the airport for cleanup?
I can bring you that number. I don't have it off the top of my head. I know what the total bill was, but I don't know what the airport specific was.
Was that done in-house or commercial?
It was commercial. We
Right.
have nothing big enough to handle that uke or anything big enough to get up to that high on that tree that was leaning over San Felipe.
Right.
Other storm damage was at the old Dingaling. The glass partitions around the patio blew in.
Yeah, the chips.
Yeah, there's lots of chips out there.
That was a big pile itself. Okay.
Quite a few branches out there too.
Is there any use of those chips?
We do use them, and we use them out in the parks and places. So
Okay, any other questions on the trees? All right, old business, trailer parking.
nothing to report.
Okay, old business, 155 Skyland Drive, Building 16.
The roof is complete. That project went through last week, and they did a great job, and I don't think it's leaking. So we survived the rainstorms. It didn't leak. I sent somebody in there to make sure it wasn't leaking after the work was done. I think it looks good. So next steps are plumbing, electrical. I met with the health department. We will have to redo the flooring in there. They have a specific type of flooring that they require, and they finally gave me that information. So we're getting prices to take care of that. So we're moving on to that step.
So the anticipation is another restaurant?
We are preparing it for that possibility.
Any questions? No questions? All right. New business, aircraft waste oil.
So I hear there was a lively discussion at the last meeting regarding the used oil. So I apologize if I'm going to repeat some things, but I'll give you a short report. So in the past, the county had an oil collection site at the airport in an effort to avoid illegal dumping of oil in the storm drains. The county paid for the entire program. They paid for the container, they paid for the service to have the container serviced, etc. We did purchase the secondary containment shed that was in after we got fined for it overflowing when it used to be located over by Cal Fire in the corner. So that was something that the airport purchased for a few $100s and put on there. Over the years, that project has been nothing but an issue. It ran smoothly there for a little while, but many times tenants have overflowed the tank, requiring expensive cleanups. Many times the tank has been contaminated, requiring expensive disposal. And the county didn't pick any of that up. That was all on the airport. So over the years, we have had to spend quite a bit of money to support this free aircraft thing. Recently, well, not even recently, there was a staff change at the county level in charge of that program, and that program fell through the cracks. None of the permits got taken care of on that program. The EPA number even expired on that program. As a result, the people couldn't come and empty the tank, and for a period of time, the tank was full at the airport because we couldn't have the pump people come pump it because this agency didn't get their EPA paperwork squared away, and it was all messed up, and we were trying to work with the new guy to get the EPA number squared away, and he finally got that squared away, but then it was squared away for the wrong site. So then he had to start over and work on ours. Finally, when we got the EPA all squared away and we got the pump crew out there to pump out the oil, oh, lo and behold, it's contaminated with gasoline. So they left. They can't pump it when it's contaminated with anything. So then we had to pay to have it all pumped and hauled away, the airport did, to the tune of about $3,000, and that happened last week, I think, 2 weeks ago. With that, with the county no longer supporting their program, I had the county come and pick up their property. So the tank is no longer on site, and it's no longer a liability to the airport. At the request of the former chairman of the Airport Commission, who felt that it would be a nice thing to do to offer waste oil collection out as a perk to the tenants. Perk is the wrong word. As a service for the tenants. I went ahead and researched the costs involved. And annually, to pump out that tank, it's going to cost us $7,000. And that's if there's no contaminations. Every contamination would be an additional $3,000. And that's if nothing overflows, because it overflows, then we have to clean it up, and that's an additional cost that is whole nother issue. We also would need to have a capital expenditure for a tank and a containment vessel, because that containment vessel was so contaminated, I had it hauled off by the county too. It wasn't ours. I wasn't going to, there was no salvaging it. So, with that said, I personally believe, as an airport manager, that this would be a liability for the airport to continue this, that could get out of control financially. As the airport manager, I believe that in the past, the tenants have demonstrated an inability to self-police themselves on that oil tank, hence the overflows, hence the contamination. As a matter of fact, when we went to pump it out, we found that somebody put 55-gallon drums of stuff out there next to it that we also had to pay to haul away. So personally, I think this is a situation where an entrepreneur could step up and take it over. I don't think this is a place for government, because the costs involved with having to put security cameras, staff, and everything else on it are going to be huge in order to lock it down the way I would to try to eliminate these possibilities. There's also annual permits involved. And finally, there's only one company that picks up that oil, aviation oil, at this stage. And if that one company that's left in the Bay Area changes their mind, who knows what we're going to do.
Is there any questions of the commissioners?
I mean, I personally hate to see the tank go away. Not that I've really used the tank at all. I have other means of disposing of my oil. But
there are several tenants out there, especially the businesses, that need some way to do it. I don't know whether they could all join forces together and figure it out, but one way or the other, I do think there needs to be some type of waste oil disposal out there for our local businesses, not necessarily for individual tenants. I know that the dump has a waste oil disposal site up there. How long that will stay there, it's hard to say. But, you know, my personal feeling is I think we do need some place for waste oil to be disposed of properly, but it does need to be monitored.
State regulations require the businesses to have a disposal plan in their business plan. And I know from conversations in the past that the county bin it wasn't kosher for them to be using that. Not that it was policed, but
Right.
it did not meet the requirements of the regulations for them to use that as their point of disposal.
Is there any knowledge of the surrounding airports, how they attack the subject, or?
I have not polled them, so I could if that's your direction. But I did not call other airports to find out what they did.
Well, I just getting that it's not unique. I'm assuming it's not unique to us, so there must be a solution or
I believe Santa Clara County used to, in fact, I'm 99% sure Santa Clara County used to have their own waste oil program because they were the ones who sounded the alarm on the web serve when their vendors stopped picking it up.
So we don't know what they did?
I do not.
Oh, that might be interesting to know.
So you want to continue the item and do some research?
Sure. I can have a poll done of Watsonville, Salinas, and Santa Clara County, or do you want me to go further out?
No, that should be far enough.
Okay.
And if I may perhaps suggest, you might want to have discussions with the FBOs, and see if they want to step up for this in some fashion also.
Question. Would the city intercede if there was some cost involved?
Meaning,
Would they cover any costs if you did?
would I subsidize
Exactly.
the FBOs doing it, or would I charge a fee to do it?
Well, both, or either.
I think that if we really put pencil to paper and we figured out how much it costs government to work through this program, the fee would be too expensive to make it worthwhile.
Okay.
As far as subsidizing the costs with the FBO, it's something we can look at, but I think that would be a hard sell to the Airport Commission. We didn't want to subsidize the restaurant.
Sure. Yeah. One other question. In your query with the other airports, could you check and see what their costs are? And if it's possible that we may be able to dispose of our oil at their site?
We wouldn't be able to transport it.
Gotcha.
It'd be illegal for us to transport it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? So you have direction?
I have direction.
All right. So, 9B, water board underground storage tank.
So We had an inspection by the State Water Resources Control Board late in February, where they came out and inspected the fuel island, and they also came and inspected the yard. And I'm sorry, you actually got provided the yard one in your packets, because or at least I got the yard one here. If there's only 4 violations, that's the one out at the yard. The yard had 4 violations that were primarily just paperwork issues. You don't have it? Okay. The airport got a report of 10 violations. There were claims on there that the wrong sensor was being used, the wrong type of pipe was being used, there were paperwork issues, etc. I am currently in the process of getting a quote on what it would cost to fix that to how the water board imagines it's in compliance, to see if it's worth the time, effort, and money to convince the water board they're wrong about what they're saying, because our vendors have provided us with the documentation that says it's preferred, not required. So a lot of the stuff that we use is not preferred, but it meets the standards of the manufacturer. So this is a so I'm waiting for the quote to see what it would cost to bring it up to whatever design that the water board wishes to see what the difference is. And at that point, I'll bring it back to you guys to decide where we're going to go from there. In my experience with them, they're not very user-friendly. And to be honest with you, this is a huge surprise to both the FBO and I, because we both can hold up years and years and years of the required inspections and reports that were all completed, and everything says A-OK, including reports from the county health department that were standing right there when the inspections were conducted, and everything was A-OK. So I'm not sure what's going on and why the water board all of a sudden went into this business, but they did. And it just seems like perhaps there's a level of education missing on the inspector that came out.
Are the tanks in question, or just the plumbing for the tanks?
It's all about the leak sensing
Okay.
stuff. Effectively, what I'm told is they want a whole new system. In the meantime, I did meet with the FBO, and I asked them to request information from their vendor to see what the cost of an above-ground setup would be, because it may be cheaper just to do away with the underground tanks at this point and put it in an above-ground system.
But there's cost involved digging up those tanks.
There will be,
Okay.
but that cost is out there whether we do it now or in the future. The second those costs went in the ground, those tanks went in the ground, that cost was there. And I'd rather do it before they're leaking than after.
Any other questions? Okay, we're down to items for the next agenda. Going down the list of reports on down, what do we desire for next meeting?
Can we keep the CAL FIRE leases on it?
Sure.
And then probably AIP 19 for the taxiway?
Well, that one really I'm not going to have anything to report till after 18's done.
Okay.
So I'd say A through E.
Okay.
8A, and then 9A and B.
on, if I may, second H, trees, were you going to find out what it's costing us?
Oh, sure.
Just, that's all, just know how bad the damage is, so to speak.
Off the top of my head, it was between $8,000 and $12,000.
Okay. Thank you.
So is there a schedule for the Building 16 timeline?
It's in the budget for next year, so no time soon.
Are there any other new add-ons? Everybody's happy with what's been indicated? All right. Next meeting is April 26th. Is that a good date?
That is a true and correct date.
The what?
It's good.
I thought you said Truman's birthday.
I said true and correct.
Oh! You're talking behind the
Sorry.
the monitor there.
It's where the microphone is.
I thought, what's this? Maybe I go back too far. What's Truman got to do with it? Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
I have a motion and a second.
Who second? Who was the second?
I would say the lady did.
Okay.
We need a balance here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.